What heavy duty plasterboard fixings are best for hanging heavy items on plasterboard walls? Well, that's probably the question we all ask ourselves when we pop into the shop and we look for a plasterboard fixing that's going to hang a heavy item on the wall. Well, today I'm going to put them all to the test. We're going to look at the top 5 heavy duty plasterboard fixings and we're going to test them with our weighing rig to find out which ones are top shelf and which ones fall way below the mark. So to get accurate weights for the products, we're going to be using some digital scales. These are really accurate, and we've got our little bucket rig that'll hold water and weight that we constructed for the test we did last time. We'll pop this on the same place on the hook every single time. Not only will this give us a really accurate example, but it'll give us a true to life one as well, because hooks on walls quite common. So let's start loading our bucket up with some weight. So the first one up to the wall of doom is going to be the Grip It Blue, and the Grip It Blue has these 2 little lugs at the back, and they are what hold on to the surface of the plasterboard. As you screw the screw in, they flip out and that locks it into the plasterboard. As with any plasterboard fixing, it's not usually the fixing that fails, it's the board. So it's all about surface area and how much surface area can be contacted on the back of the plasterboard. All the fixings in this test are going to be fitted onto the plasterboard using the manufacturer's instructions on the back of the packets. That way we can show you how each fixing works, show you the back of the plasterboard so you understand the fixing and you'll be able to get a better idea of which one you should buy. The plasterboard we're using today is 12.5mm British gypsum. Grip It Blue is one of the more expensive fixings on our list today, and they're going to cost you about £1.50 per fixing. So as we screw the hook to the wall, what you're going to see is the little toggles flip out and they should engage vertically on the back of that plasterboard, and that's what gives you the surface area to stop the fixing from falling through the hole. Each one of these is going to get a fair test, and we're going to start off with a 10 kilo weight because these are heavy duty fixings and they're all rated to hold way more than 10 kilos. We tested some of the cheaper and lighter plasterboard fixings in a previous test, which I'll link in the description below, but this is all about the kings, the heavy duty ones, the ones that are going to hold a TV on a plasterboard wall. So let's start off strong, 10 kilos going in initially. So let's start loading the bucket up and see what it can hold. Hopefully I'm not going to get soaking wet in this test, but if I do, at least you guys will get a laugh, and it is 28 degrees today, so not too bad. Any minute that's going to go. We've even got the slow motion failure shots for you guys on this one. A tiny bit of water out the bucket as it splashed, so we might have to lower the rig down. So you can see that it ripped a chunk of plasterboard out, and there's quite a bit of tear out on the plasterboard, as expected with all of these heavy duty fixings. When they fail, they're always going to rip quite a big hole. Let's give that bucket away and see exactly how much weight it held. Each time we're going to deduct the hook. I can't see it, hopefully you guys can. So 24.8 kilos, not bad. Holds quite a bit of weight, but I think we can do better. So let's move on to the next one. All the fixings in today's video are getting a fair test, and you'll be able to find links to go and buy them for yourselves in the description down below. Next up, the Rule Plug hollow wall anchor. You can get these in a lot of different brands. They're essentially the same thing. They're a bit of a household favourite, and they're one of the cheapest as well. They're only 50p a fixing, or they were where I bought them. So we've got the setting tool with these ones. Let's get them on the plasterboard and let's see how they do. What we've done is made it as fair as possible. There's a stud in the middle there, so we've got this one next to this stud, this one next to this stud, and we'll space them out so that they've got the same flex on the plasterboard. Just like before with these ones, you got to drill a little hole to insert them into the plasterboard. And once you've pushed the fixing through the plasterboard, you use the setting tool to spread the wings out on the back. 10 kilograms, no problem. Can it hold as much as Grip It Blue? It's got to beat 24.8. With Chris behind it, getting the 4th camera, which is my phone on the go, we should get every angle for you. We've even got a drone above us, look. How times change. Unbelievably, it's still holding on. There we go, she's down. And again, quite a bit of destruction on the plasterboard, as you'd expect. Let's see what it held. So Chris has devised this little rig so that we can hold it with a little more accuracy. So the hollow wall anchor held less than grip at blue, 22.1. Not bad at all for an everyday fixing, but hopefully the next one will step it up a notch. Next up, spring toggle fixings. Another common household fixing for holding heavy loads. In our last test, these came out on top, so I'm expecting quite good things from these. They're only 50p a fixing for these Fisher ones. These can be a little trickier to install than some of the other fixings in our test, so that's probably the only downside to these really. Let's get one installed and see how they do. You start by drilling a 14mm hole through the plasterboard. You then pop the screw through the item you want to hang on the wall and push the whole thing through the hole. Now when I said they're a bit fiddly to fit, the problem with them is you don't know what way the toggle on the back is orientated. If it ends up horizontal, you're going to get less strength and there's no way to tell the difference. Right, 10 kilogram weight going on the spring toggle fixings. First of all, should hold this no problem. This one was the top contender on our last test, so I'm expecting quite big things from it. And guys, if you're not subscribers, now's the time. Hit subscribe because you don't want to miss out on future videos, and hit like because that helps this video to reach more people on YouTube. Oh, the anticipation. This is holding so much weight. That one did get me wet. That was pretty explosive. And it ripped through eventually, but that has held a lot of weight. So let's give it away and see exactly what it held. Look at that, 43.2 kilograms. That's a lot of weight for a plasterboard fixing. These things always perform fairly well. We've got 2 heavy duty fixings left. Are they going to be able to beat the spring toggle fixing? Let's see. Next up, Corfix spike. They work out at £1.25 per fixing, and they should be, according to the instructions, quite quick to install. So let's get our bracket back on the wall on a fresh bit of plasterboard and give these things a go. So these have got a little arrow on them. You just pop them in your drill and they're quite quick to install. And that is it. The collar is kind of pushed into the plasterboard. We should now be able to do the screws up nice and tight. And by doing that screw up, they should have now spread out at the back. So Corfix spike are by far the easiest and fastest that we've had to install yet, but let's see if they can hold some good weight, starting off with 10 kilograms. There she goes. That held a lot of weight. Let's give it away and see what it did, but this is quite impressive. Again, massive destruction. 41 kilograms. That is a lot of weight for a plasterboard fixing. They didn't beat the spring toggle fixings in pure weight held, but if you mix it with how quick and easy they are to install, they're actually probably my choice at the moment. But we've got one more fixing to go. Let's see if the next heavy duty fixing is going to do any better. So the last fixing on our test today are the Bullfix extra strength fixings, and they have a pretty big claim on the bag, up to 133 kilograms. They're a 3-part fixing. You've got the main body of the fixing, the screw of course, and this little collar, and these are £1.62 per fixing, so they're actually the most expensive on our list. So you'd hope they're pretty good. In the bag you get provided with a 20mm spade bit to drill the hole. You have to pop this little collar in first, tap it flat with a hammer, pop the fixing in and give the fixing a tap as well. The fixings are in and they will work, but there's one little downside. If you take a look down there, the extra length of the fixing means that it hits the fixing underneath it. Now it should still work and it shouldn't cause any huge problems, but you wouldn't be able to do anything about that. You wouldn't necessarily know because it would be on the inside of the wall, and I think that's important for you guys to know that that would potentially happen if the holes on whatever you're hanging on the wall are too close together. Right, let's get the rig on. 10 kilograms going in first of all, just like all the others. Speed things up, get some water in there. Still good so far. Got me that time. Fixings are intact as expected, but it did rip through that plasterboard eventually. Let's get it on the scales and see if it managed to beat the other contenders. Oh, not as much as expected. 33.6 kilograms. Still a lot of weight for a plasterboard fixing, so you know that's a fair number, but not quite as much as some of the others. So popping up on screen now is a little leaderboard of all the prices and the amounts of weight that each one of these fixings held. So based on the price of each fixing, the amount of weight each one will hold, and the ease of use for each one, I think I would probably go with the Corefix Spike. But let us know in the comments, what ones do you think you're going to use, and let us know if you want us to do any more of these tests. And if you have enjoyed them, hit one of these videos because you're bound to like them as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one.